The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly podcast coming to you on March 19th, 2021. Happy Friday, everybody. How y'all doing? Just chilling. Nice little end of the week podcast here. Not to talk about, but of course, you can find this podcast on any podcast catcher, such as Stitcher Radio, such as Spotify, such as Google Play, or Google Podcast rather, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. Am I missing anything else? Spotify? Yeah, I got it all. And of course, YouTube. We're Earnestly Media, of course, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Check it out. We are moving. Check out this podcast, of course, Take 3 Wrestling Podcast. If you're a big wrestling fan, of course, check out the Take 3 Wrestling Podcast. We did a nice little first Thursday night recording, our new night. We're closing in WrestleMania time. We'll talk a little wrestling on the back end of this show today. This one should go about 25 minutes, maybe. We'll see how it goes. This one today is also, while it will be on YouTube, obviously, this one is no video. Just want to get out of this one. Not we record video today. Like I said, not every episode will be video. You know, like I said, there'll be guests also on this podcast that may not want to do video. There's a couple people who don't like video, and I'm gonna respect that. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'll tell you, someone who's having a real rough off season as of late. You know, the last couple months have not been pretty, and now it's getting damn right serious. Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson is having a rough offseason. It's very bad enough that he demanded a trade from Houston. It's bad enough that they told his ass no, and that they're not trading him. Although I just don't believe that. But now, the latest in the last 48 hours could change everything. Not just him as a quarterback in the NFL, just in general, his entire career. There are now, I believe, 9 civil suits in place accusing Deshaun Watson of sexual misconduct. Now, I haven't really looked at the details of this cases yet, because a lot of it was before this came out. There was something about a lawyer trying to get a settlement, and he told him no, and this and that. It sounded kind of shady, and now we're starting to hear something about text messages, and this thing's starting to hit mainstream the last 24 hours, especially. But the text messages somewhat corroborate some of the things that are being talked about. I don't know, man. Look, this whole thing, I mean, it's kind of weird because the time it's kind of weird because he's going through all these issues with his team, you know. I mean, there's text messages about him supposedly, you know, him apologizing to some of the accusers back in December. I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on here, man. A lot of stuff. A lot to digest here. So again, who to believe? And like I said, you know, when someone says it's 1 and 2 accusations, okay, one thing, but now it's like 7, 8, 9 now. It's bad optics, obviously. But like I said, and I said this also when it pertained to Andrew Cuomo last week on the podcast. I said this would pertain to Donald Trump because he's had 27, you know, different accusations levied at him. He had active in 2016, I believe. You know, Brett Kavanaugh 3 years ago, with that whole thing with the Supreme Court pick. You know, you don't want to set a bad precedent here. You want to investigate before laying down law, before judging and all that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, we start saying that. People don't say, well, you don't believe victims. No one said that. I'm not saying don't believe victims. In fact, I'm somebody who definitely take their accusations seriously. That doesn't mean we don't investigate. Like Ronald Reagan said one time, trust but verify. Trust but verify. You know, I don't know what's going on here. I mean, is the optics bad? Yeah, 9 people. Yeah, it's bad. No one's saying it's not. But that doesn't mean we don't check into it, make sure it's true. Same Andrew Cuomo. I know the Democrats, the New York Democrats want him out. You know, they want him out, you know, because want him to resign, and that's pretty much a political move, and I get that. But at the same time, he has the right, and Joe Biden had the right idea. Joe Biden said, "Let's investigate first, and if it's true, you resign." I have the same exact stance on there. I don't know why that's even hard to actually, you know, understand. Because hypothetically, what if all these things are false? Now what? I'm not saying it's not false. I'm just saying hypothetically. Let's say these are false. Now what? Because people do tell the truth and people do lie too. And I've seen lives destroyed by false accusations. A lot of times with minorities. Remember that Brian Banks character that he was in jail for I don't know how many years over a false accusation, and then the person told the truth later on, and yeah, that shit happens, dude. This shit matters. Take it seriously. On both ends. If Deshaun Watson did what he did, he needs to face the music. But that doesn't mean we do not verify. And that's my position on that. And I'm going to treat this the same way, you know, because I know a lot of times when you have the accusation ends up being bigger than the final result. Like if Deshaun Watson somehow comes out of this clean and he's not, all this becomes like not a big deal and this is all false and all this stuff or uncorroborated, you know, it won't be front page news in the same way that the accusation was. Because this is the society we live in now. We live in a tabloidish society. Western civilization, you know, England, America. We love salacious shit. That's the bottom line. It's kind of sad because we'll put out the accusations heavy, but if the person's like innocent, tuck it in page 20. No big deal. Put it in page 220. I hate that we live in that kind of society. I'll tell you what, man. Someone accuse someone in my family of something that they didn't do. Fisticuffs, buddy. Straight up. I don't play around that kind of shit. I don't. No. So that's me. But like I said, the story to watch obviously is gonna be probably the biggest story of the offseason now. Deshaun Watson really is the most important person to the offseason, and now this is for the wrong reasons. So all I can tell you, keep following it, investigate, take in information, and we'll go from there. You know. Now this episode's called "Forgot about Kirk." Wow, I can't fucking talk today. Let me say that again. This episode's called "Forgot About Kirk," and the reason why it's called "Forgot About Kirk" is because a couple days ago, I'm on the last podcast. I forgot to discuss the Kirk Franklin situation with his son, and it's something that I was kind of fired up about. In fact, my wife and I were talking about on Sunday. We actually recorded like a little private podcast we never published yet for our show, but we will talk about the whole thing. If you don't know, Kirk Franklin has, I don't know how many kids he has, but he has a son who's 33 years old, and supposedly they've had a toxic relationship for a long time. And his son, I guess, decided that was smart. It was actually a good idea to record a conversation with his father, Kirk Franklin, of course, who's a gospel singer, Christian, minister, all that. And this is the other angle too, because he's a Christian minister, so the choice language he uses in this is kind of, shocking to a lot of people because he's a minister, but like he's not human, you know what I mean? But anyway, his son decided to record his dad in the conversation with his father. It wasn't pretty. Here's a recording that his son decided to record and then publish on Instagram. Check it out.
Off a piece of paper. Okay, if you think I'm reading this paper, let me say it like this. When your bitch ass starts getting some shit that disrespectful, you need to get your skinny motherfucking ass back out the goddamn way before I put my foot in your ass. Because I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. Shut the fuck up. I'm old. What's up? I will punch your neck, nigga. Don't you ever disrespect me. I did it. He just hung up the phone. I'll break your neck. Is that a threat?
All right. So when I first saw the story when it broke, I think it was Sunday last week, I thought, oh, well, this is kind of weird. Why would he do that to his son? You know, it didn't have any details, no context on that matter. You know, thinking this kid's maybe 16, maybe 18, 21 years old. This guy's 33 years old, recording his dad. Now, a lot of time Pac here, especially on Kirk's end, obviously it's obviously, is it wrong to cuss out your? I mean, yes, in layman's terms, yes, it's not a good look. Is it a bad look because you're a Christian artist and all that? Yeah, whatever. It's bad optics, obviously, for that market you play in. You know, obviously they didn't want to hear that. But this is also another reason why we need people to be admired. I don't give a damn what you are. I don't give a damn if you're a pastor or a priest, whatever it may be. Y'all still human. We're still human. We're going to make mistakes. You know, we're going to cuss. We're going to say F word. Hell, I'm not proud of this, but there are moments where I curse out my kids. Not that I try to, but sometimes you get the moment, in heat of moment, you know, I might drop an F-bomb or S-bomb. I'm not proud of that, but it happens. But this, to me, what really bothered me, I don't even give a shit what happened, what exactly led to this. Because obviously, this what we're hearing, there's a lot of history to these two, and it's very toxic and all that. What bothered me about his kid, and by the way, most people are siding with Kirk Franklin here too. What bothered me about this is that keep your shit private, man. Unless your life was threatened, there was no reason to be putting this stuff out there. Like, what was his son trying to accomplish? Like, seriously, what was your end game? To embarrass your dad because y'all don't get along? And by the way, I don't know exactly what's going on in detail, but unless your life's in danger, it's a bad look to be putting that shit out on blast. And it made him look bad. It made him look bad. Not Kirk Franklin, but his kid. In fact, I was pissed off with Kirk Franklin. I'm like, this is a bitch move, to really be honest with you. And you're 33 years old? Like, really? You're 33 years old and you're recording your father and your conversation with your dad, and because y'all don't get along. Y'all don't get along, and you want to put it out there. That's it. Just put it out there and embarrass your dad, just because. Knowing that the amount of press they'll get because your dad is a famous artist. Like, that's a bad look. Like, that's just a bad look in general. Like, what are you doing? Like, grow up. Keep your shit private, dog. Keep your stuff private. Like, I don't get that, man. To me, that was a bad look, man, on his kid's end. And I'm glad people came down on his ass. Honestly. I really am. So, whatever. I actually forgot this part here. Before we went to Kirk Franklin, because I got kind of excited about that. Back to the NFL real quick. The NFL just announced new landmark deals with their partners, new TV deals with their partners. I'm gonna read the press release of what they did with new TV deals. You know, ESPN, NBC, CBS, the whole nine. All right, here we go. The NFL announced a new set of national television deals Thursday, which keeps games on ESPN, ABC, which is of course Disney, Fox, CBS, NBC, Amazon, and NFL Network through the 2033 season. Terms are not released. The agreement keeps Sunday afternoon games on CBS and Fox, Sunday games on NBC, and Monday games on ESPN, with some games also airing on ABC. So I'll return to the old days. ABC Monday Night Football, but the best, by the way. If they put those games at 9 o'clock, it'll also be awesome too. Continuing here, the release. For the first time, Amazon will be the exclusive home for Thursday night games, which will also be the over-the-air channels in the competing teams' home markets. NFL Network will also air select games. ABC picks up 2 Super Bowls in the deal, the first in 2026, with the other networks airing 3. The agreement also calls for additional flex options, flex in quotations, of course, to move better matchups into primetime slots on Sundays on NBC and, for the first time, Mondays on ESPN. That's interesting. The ESPN package also includes the ability to stream games on ESPN Plus, as well as one international series game on an exclusive national basis NBC, CBS, and Fox will also have the ability to stream games they hold rights to. So, the one thing that stands out for me is this. Nothing here surprises me. Lock it in. These networks, regardless of where they're at, they understand that, especially with streaming becoming a thing and eyeballs going elsewhere, that the NFL is still king shit when it comes to the ratings. The NFL games, NFL regular season games are still leaps and bounds bigger, the biggest thing they're going to have on the platform than anything else. So they can't lose the NFL. So the NFL still has leverage. Okay. Number two, one other thing stuck out here in pertaining to ESPN. Wasn't it Outkick coverage and Clay Travis's folks? Not trying to get on their ass, but wasn't them saying ESPN's in trouble? Disney's in trouble? Help me out here. Y'all were saying that ESPN's in trouble. I mean, if you're in trouble, then why are you still getting it? How they still keep the NFL? Look, y'all can talk shit about ESPN and whatever. You may not like their content they put out, but y'all gonna still tune in because ESPN, because the NFL's still hanging out there. So they're still gonna win. So I'm just saying, Clay Travis and his crew kept saying that that ESPN's in trouble, and yeah, all talk and no action. You know what I'm saying? So that's the deal. Okay, back to my order, because I actually skipped this part of my docket of things I want to talk about. Cardi B versus Candace Owens. They're at it again. This is, I think, the second fight they've had now over Twitter. So I guess Cardi B, performed at the Grammys. Candace Owens on Fox News talking about how Cardi B is a bad influence on people and all that. And look, whatever, it is what it is. People, folks who believe that, and then there are folks who think Candace Owens is full of shit. Cardi B came out and responded and told her, basically saying that, hey, thanks for the free promotion, pretty much, in those not those exact words, but that's pretty much in that way. And then, of course, Candace Owens and Cardi B started getting into it. Cardi B is accusing Candace Owens and her husband of sleeping with her husband and all that, and now Candace Owens wants to sue Cardi B. This is so petty, dude. These two gotta stop. Like, you're getting nowhere with this shit, dude. And and by the way, I don't like Candace Owens, for the record. I've been very critical about that. But I'll tell you what, though, Candace Owens makes Cardi B look like an amateur, though. Candace Owens' comebacks are pretty dope. I'm not even trying to side with Candace Owens here, because I don't really side with her necessarily either, because I think she's very intellectually dishonest. I don't find her very authentic in that way. You know what I mean? And the reason I don't like Candace Owens is because I believe she's someone who, her main objective is to turn Democrats to Republicans. But her whole thing is go to plantation and become a Republican. And we go down the rabbit hole of that shit. But someone like myself, who used to be a Republican, who left the party 12 years ago, 13 years ago, yeah, now we ain't doing that shit. We ain't doing that. And to me, like, even if some of the things she says is somewhat in truth, the intentions of what bother me. Her end game bothers me. Like, what is your intention? And her intentions to me aren't something that's really authentic. If you have these views, I get that. I can't change the way you think, and whatever. That's fine. You independent thinker, you have the right to think what you think. But another thing too, also, is that why are you engaging with Cardi B anyway? Why? That's like low hanging fruit. Like, Cardi B, for all as much of a, whatever she's good at, rap or whatever. She's good at what she does, but she's not really political. I mean, she's bold in what she says, but. Why are you engaging somebody that is not gonna, it's not gonna get anywhere, And to be honest with you, I get frustrated with Cardi B because, to me, Candace Owens has more to gain by messing around with Cardi B, because Cardi B is the bigger, more popular person between the two. Like, Candace Owens has her own, little circle, whatever, but Candace Owens has as big a reach as Cardi B. Come on now. So Cardi B's putting more oxygen than Candace Owens, really, by responding to her and this and that. Like, stop. Like, I'll tell you what, it did cross my mind one time that, what if these two were just doing this for publicity? Just cause. And, honestly, in 2021, that wouldn't shock me, man. That honestly wouldn't shock me. I'm just saying. So, anyway. Some wrestling talk. AEW, man. Last 2 weeks has been really good. AEW Dynamite. Now, look. They had the pay-per-view by 12 days ago, Revolution. Most folks hated it. I actually liked the Revolution. I gave it a B when I reviewed it on this podcast a couple weeks ago. But the ending was shitty, of course. What happened with the explosion during the main event. So obviously that a lot of people had a bad taste in the mouth about that. And of course, on the Take the Rest of the podcast, we've been discussing AEW a lot last couple weeks, and we even did a whole thing last week where, you know, Mike and Joe were talking about how like they're gonna give the next pay-per-view the last shot, and if they shit on the pay-per-view in May, that they're done. They're gonna take a little hiatus, whatever. It feels like they're starting to get a little burnt on AEW. Well, I don't know what happened the last couple of weeks, but the last 2 episodes of Dynamite since the Revolution pay-per-view has been fantastic. A+ fantastic. Like, they've hit it on all cylinders again. This past week especially, amazing. For the first time in the near 2 years of watching this product, every storyline on the episode I was invested into. Every single one. It feels like this past episode feels like we have now reached an inflection. It feels like an inflection point for the company. Like, everything matters now. You know, you have the new faction, the Pinnacle, with MJF, obviously, and them in a circle going, you know, battling it out. You have Miro and Kip Sabian. Also, Miro is starting to, you see little cracks in the armor of their best friend there. Like, Miro is starting to, maybe they're starting to figure out that Miro needs to be in the top picture. He made mention that in his promo. Even though Kenny Omega's heel thing here, his whole character I really don't really like, but I love Kenny Omega as a whole. You know, this whole thing now with, you know, Moxley and the Good Brothers, and of course Christian involved now and all that. And of course the highlight of the night was the women's match. And y'all know you guys already know that the women's division in AEW has been below average. I won't even say average. Below average. But you've seen some signs of light in recent months. You know, having Thunder Rosa, who's not necessarily a full-time AEW commit. She still works at NWA. A couple of people of that nature. I think Diamante, I think Diamante is actually an AEW commit. But my point is, you've seen some glimpses of light. And this match, this unsanctioned dark match, what the hell do we call it? I don't know what the hell it was. Lights out match, I think it was called. You know, unsanctioned, no disqualifications, all that. Fantastic match. It's already in my match of the year nominee between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. And I was saying on the podcast yesterday, we did a whole bit on AEW, the whole fantasy booking, the next pay-per-view, that they should get the belt, put the belt on Britt Baker at some point. But this episode felt like an inflection point for the company. And I'm hoping this is what leads into a fantastic Double or Nothing in May, next 7 weeks. The build going into the pay-per-view. Because remember, they're going to do 4 a year. You know? Hopefully this is what leads in to the greatness of what AEW could be. You know? I don't watch AEW Dark and all that. I watch only Dynamite. Because wrestling is hard to watch as a whole. It's hard to watch in terms of keeping up. I mean, I'm already trying to share 9 hours of main shows a week. I'm already struggling with that as it is. But they've had a good week, man. They've had a fantastic week. And last 2 shows have been good. So hope I keep it up, you know. But like that Britt Baker match against Thunder Rosa, fantastic. And definitely puts some eyeballs on the women's division again. And hopefully they can add to that, you know. Stay in wrestling, of course. Today, the WWE announced that Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil will be the host of WrestleMania 37. You think people would be excited about that, but nah, not so fast. Nope. I was on Twitter after the announcement, and let me tell you, Hulk Hogan in 2021 is not well liked. Hulk Hogan in 2021 is, he is not on the good side of the WWE universe or wrestling fans as a whole. A lot of it for a lot of reasons. Obviously is for that. You have his legal issues and just some things he's said in the past and all that. I think Hogan in general has been really on the downswing for a long time. Not just the last 10 years, but the last 20 or 30. He had a little spark. A little bit of a bounce in 2002 when he came back, to WWE and NWO, and then he came at the red and yellow and all that. But then after that, that was it. The racist comments he made that was found out. And really a lot of these shoot interviews too, you see a lot of these shoot interviews you see from old wrestlers and how Hogan has, had so much influence and such a big influence on the, the locker room and all that, which he should have because he's the biggest star in the company. Still Mount Rushmore all-time great. That doesn't change it. This conversation we're having here doesn't change that. But I go on Twitter today, and I'm on social media, and everybody else I'm talking to on social media, and it is just negative. People are shitting on this. Now, I understand why Hogan will be the host for this WrestleMania. Number one, it's in Tampa. Well, Hogan's from Tampa. That makes sense. Hogan was supposed to host it last year before COVID took over our lives. So that makes sense. Titus O'Neil, of course. Titus O'Neil is they're not. I'm sure a lot of the negative feedback is mainly Hogan. And his popularity has just gone down. Like, obviously, I still watch his matches and all that, and you still revel in the nostalgia of Hulkamania. I'm a Hulkamaniac. I've been in my entire life. He's one of my first heroes growing up as a kid. I always cheered for Hogan. Even when Hogan went to the NWO, I was still a Hogan guy. I still follow Hogan as a heel. But to watch now, as we get in 2020, 21, and seeing Hulk Hogan in 2021, like, no one cares. Like, he'll still get a little pop here and there from the casual fan, but, when I made the comment on the last episode about Stone Cold Steve Austin being the most popular superstar in the history of the company, this proves that. Because prior to Hogan, if he didn't have Hogan's issues with legal issues in recent years and all that, Hogan will be right there in terms of getting pop. There's still a lot of nostalgia. A lot of fans watching nostalgia, like myself. Stone Cold Steve Austin still is the bigger star. And to be honest with you, it's not even close. Like, if you're talking about, like, influence and impact, I'll give you Hogan over Austin because Hogan, as I said before in the past, like, Hogan did this thing twice. He did Red and Yellow, Hulkamania, and then NWO. His impact was influence was strong. But in terms of popularity, Hogan doesn't even touch Austin. Doesn't even come close at this point. It's not even an argument. And it's sad because, like I said, I'm growing up a card-carrying Hulkamaniac, but, I totally understand why people feel the way they feel about him now. I totally understand. I totally understand. So, yeah. I wonder if the WWE will actually pull this decision. Probably not. I would rather Vince host it, honestly. In fact, we don't really need a host. Can we be real? We don't really need a host. All we need is Vince McMahon to say, welcome to WrestleMania 37. Welcome back, the crowds, after the whole year not having you guys. Boom. That's what we need. We don't need the extra shit. This is my opinion. We don't need the extra stuff. So, anyway. Finally, before I go, another serious topic here. I finished the last part of the Woody Allen documentary on HBO, Allen vs. Farrow. Let me say for the record, this is a very powerful documentary. And as someone who typically is very skeptical about documentaries as a whole, how it's presented, who's presenting it, which side of the story, is it balanced, all that. And even when I spoke about the first part, it being one-sided. Yeah, it's one-sided, yeah, some degree. But this documentary is loaded with information, characters involved in the process that are still alive, people, prosecutors, DAs. You had the Connecticut prosecutor who was investigating Woody Allen in 92 that said that it was probable cause that Woody Allen may have actually molested his daughter, Dylan Farrow, but that because he was worried about the trauma it would put on her at the time, because she was 7 years old at the time, that he decided not to pursue charges. And of course, you have those two, the prosecutor and Dylan meeting, last year prior to the release of this documentary, and them coming to understanding why things went the way it did. I'm watching this. When I watched the documentary, I watched with a unbiased eye. First off, I'm not really a Woody Allen fan. I mean, I've seen some of his movies, but I'm not like some guy who's like, oh my god, Woody Allen. Yeah, is he genius? Yeah, I'm sure he's one of the all-time great filmmakers. But to say myself, I'm a big Woody Allen fan. That would be, nah, that's not me. So it's not like I have any skin in the game, if you will. So it was easy for me to come to this in a lot of ways. But to be honest with you, anything I watch, I try to not have biased, thoughts. I try to look at the information for what it is. Facts or feelings. I'm not trying to get feelings of this. It's all about the facts. Is this facts? Does this corroborate all that? I gotta tell you, unless the stuff that I don't know, this is a damning documentary on Woody Allen. Because when you have people and investigators who've now since presented new information. It's just like the R. Kelly documentary. There was new information, that corroborates everything. It's tough to really, doubt whether or not something happened, obviously. I mean, I think it's almost safe to say something happened. Dylan Farrow was very consistent, could stay consistent with her. And that's the thing I think when you compare this to something like, for example, the Michael Jackson documentary, Leaving Neverland. Dylan Farrow never changed her story. Dylan Farrow from day one was consistent with her story. The two accusers in Leaving Neverland changed their story 3 times. Actually, 4 times. And the reason we know that because there are court documents saying this. A judge laughed these two accusers out of the courtroom, saying these lawsuits were frivolous. Whereas Dylan Farrow has stayed consistent every time. The story stayed the same. She never denied anything. She never changed anything. And that's the thing. The context matters. This is why I keep saying, when you make accusations, stuff like that, you need to take in the information as is. The reason why I don't believe the Michael Jackson accusers is because the information that was presented is not consistent. And then the documentary was one-sided in a way where it was literally just, hey, I'm going to tell my story and believe me, and that's it. There was no information, none of that. It was just, this happened to me and believe me. No information. And then we find out later on that there was a lot of deceptive errors in the documentary, that some of the things they were saying that were not consistent with what really happened, all that. Not the case in this one. Not the case in the R. Kelly documentary. Not the case in this documentary either. So this one was very powerful. This one was very powerful. Very, very powerful. And again, Woody Allen is he's 85 years old and he's always been a little bit of an oddball. I don't know. It's a sad story. But I found myself really believing Dylan Farrow. Because, again, she stayed consistent for years with her story. And then the information that we're now getting, the new information that wasn't privy to us before, it started to really, give us a better understanding of what may have happened. But, I don't know. Anyway, so check it out, of course. It's very disturbing. It's a very disturbing documentary, 4-parter, HBO. Like I said, I'm always been critical of HBO, and not just HBO, this documentary as a whole. But this one really hit. It definitely hit a mark. So, anyway, that's it for now. Next podcast, we'll see next week. Oh, by the way, also in addition to the Woody Allen documentary, I was supposed to do an episode with our old friend Rosalind Ross to discuss the documentary. We couldn't do it last night. Hoping to get to it next week. We'll see what happens. Schedules have been kind of an issue, but hopefully we get to it at some point, her and I. So, anyway, hit me on Twitter, EJChristen7, Earnestly Media at all social media platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Earnestly.net is the website. I guess this podcast also on all podcast catchers. Until then, enjoy your weekend. We'll talk soon. Later.